Hi, good day. I'm Lauren at NEXA, and welcome to our Solutions Insights webinar series. Today's topic is appointment scheduling, and we'll be looking at how you can create value for your staff and your customers by offering the simple act of booking an appointment. We'll also be demonstrating the Q-Flow solution in action, so you can see how you can streamline your customer journey from clicks to bricks. We're delighted to welcome Simon Pearson as the host of today's session. Simon is based in the UK, so a big thank you for coming online so late tonight, Simon, to share your knowledge with us. Simon has a long-standing relationship with NEXA, both as a partner, employee, and as a consultant. He is extremely passionate about Q-Flow, and we are very privileged to have him share his insights with us today. If you have any questions while Simon is presenting, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, and he will attend to them at the end of the session. So a big thank you to Simon, and thank you to all of you who've come online today to listen to our webinar. Thank you, Simon.
Thanks, Lauren. Good morning from a very cold London, where we're in the grasp of the beast from the east, which is a Siberian weather front that's cooled things down to -7 tonight. Hopefully we can warm things up with our topic today. Today's agenda is going to cover one of my favourite topics, appointment scheduling. So over the next 30 minutes, we're going to discover when an appointment is not just an appointment, why omni-channel isn't just for digital, it's part of the customer journey, how efficient operational performances can be gained through customer experience and how they can work hand in hand. We can schedule, confirm, prepare and personalise many aspects of that appointment scheduling for the customer journey. At the risk of sounding like the start of a bad joke, I want to open by posing a question. When is an appointment not just an appointment? To ask this another way, what is an appointment to you? Is it really just the dictionary definition of an arrangement to meet somebody at a particular time and place? Before answering these, let's first consider your customer journeys in two different types of organisation, sales and service. When a customer is dealing with a federal or central government department, maybe attending a state or local council one-stop shop, or attending an outpatients department at their local hospital, or simply visiting their local doctor, there is a desire to make that interaction as efficient as possible. Whereas when you're at a bank or a phone shop or supermarket, car sales dealer, those organisations are different. For them, they want a continued engagement with the customer. They want the customer to peruse their showroom, take their literature, provide opportunities to interact. For these types of journeys, the focus is on the customer experience. Having an appointment can help both types of organisations achieve their objectives. Appointments ultimately prepare both sides for the journey. It sets the expectation for the outcome. It allows us to know who the customer is and why the customer wants an interaction. From there, we can confirm, prepare for, and importantly, personalise the journey. Efficiency and experience are both taken care of. Now we've answered what an appointment is, we can start to understand when an appointment isn't just an appointment. So let's start with omnichannel. It's a common understanding that omnichannel is a strategy to provide an integrated digital experience for customers. For example, you can start by adding products to your basket on a website and complete the order on the phone. This is achieved by integrating multiple channels such as web, phone, mobile and social. More recently, we are seeing an increase in organisations seeking to be customer-centric and adding to their branch, the branch to their channels to incorporate all customer journeys. It means that whilst a customer can start a journey in any of the digital channels, ultimately they can complete in a face-to-face engagement. So let's walk through an example. A customer on their banking website looking at home loans with a direct link to book an appointment. We identify the customer through their login and offer a range of dates and times based on pre-configured availability. The customer selects a suitable option for them and is emailed confirmation. It contains everything they need to help prepare them for their appointment, including what to bring and what packages might be on offer at the moment. The day before, the customer gets a text reminder with options for rescheduling. And the day of the appointment, the agent knows their list of customers, what their status is within the bank, any pre-approvals, plus is able to have all forms ready to go. The customer arrives, checks themselves in with the concierge or from their own mobile app. The service occurs, the loan is agreed, and afterwards the customer is sent a follow-up email asking for feedback. That data is collected and processed as part of the business's own Net Promoter Score system. That's true omni-channel. But there's more. Some banking clients that I have advised are using appointment scheduling as a way of doing opportunity management. They are able to truly harness omni-channel to know each step of the customer journey, to find out at what point does the customer disengage. So we're able to create tasks for agents to follow up with and communicate with the customer. When this is performed centrally, you're creating a continuation of the customer experience in an operationally efficient manner. I promised you earlier we would come back to our question, when is an appointment not an appointment? When we allow customers to book appointments through any channel of their choosing, mobile, web, phone, even face-to-face. When we confirm to the customer and help them prepare by providing documents or even online forms to collect data and ensure they are reminded prior to their appointment. When we ensure the agent knows who the customer is and what their value is to the business and why they're coming for a visit, along with any information the customer pre-provided. When we allow customers to check in and personalize their visit and provide capabilities to capture direct feedback. When we ensure continuance with follow-up appointments, or in the case where an appointment isn't kept, tasks are created for staff to check in manually or automatically with the customer. An appointment shouldn't just be about scheduling. It should link into the customer journey, the omni-channel strategy, and entire sales to service process. Let's look at a real case study with Bupa in Australia. As part of the Australian migration visa process, applicants are directed to undertake a medical examination at a local health centre provided by Bupa. To make the appointments, applicants are able to contact Bupa via an online website or by phoning a call centre or by entering any one of the clinics and making an appointment face-to-face. Where applicants attend a clinic without an appointment, applicants will either be serviced, if sufficient capacity allows for this, or be assisted in creating appointments for a later time on that day, or another date and time. A range of different medical appointments, each with its own determined timings, will be available to applicants. And applicants are required to make a payment for these services directly to Bupa at the time of the appointment creation, and will receive appropriate appointment confirmations and reminders through email and or SMS. On attendance at the clinic, automatic processors manage the flow of the applicant through the initial check-in stage and the various required medical examinations. Staff at the clinic have Q-flow to manage the appointments and the flow and produce statistics and service level metrics to ensure continual operational efficiency. I want to jump into the Bupa website just to show you what that looks like from a real life perspective. So forgive me while I just switch over to a web browser, and I'm just going to pull that web browser into view for everybody. So customers are directed to go to this website here where they can choose to make an appointment. These again are visa applicants and they are directed to the Bupa MVS website. When they choose to make an appointment, it goes to a second site which gives them the appropriate options. We're going to go ahead and create a new individual booking. And from here, I'm going to choose a location in Melbourne. So based on the map here, I'm just going to pick the first available option. And again, we've got this wizard style approach, which you can see at the top of the screen for the different options. We're going to choose some medical assessments. I'm just going to pick the first three options here. This is going to give us a bit of a journey when we arrive on site because we're going to have to go through the various checkpoints within the service itself. I'm going to go ahead and search for a date, and I can see that there are a couple of options available in February, and there's some options available by the look of things in March. So let's go ahead and pick the 5th of March, and go ahead and search, and I can see here's some availability, and I've got some slots nice and early in the morning. So let's pick one of these. And from there, I'm able to fill in some customer details. Now, if I just go ahead and put a few of these in. Now, this is likely Okay, so I'm putting in some details. Now, this is not going to accept some of this data that I've entered purely because the unique ID will get validated and potentially kicked out. So let's go ahead and complete this. There we go. So it's got a bit of validation just saying that they haven't actually got me on record, which is quite nice. I wouldn't have been able to complete the booking anyway because I would have had to pay for it. But the idea here is that you go through the various stages of the wizard to the point where you will pay for the service and you'll get confirmation messages. So this is not an unusual style when booking appointments for customers. So I'm actually going to come out of this for the time being. We're going to continue with the presentation. And I just want to make sure I've got the right screen shared. There we go. So hopefully you'll be able to see the presentation we were at before. And just to summarize and finish with Bupa MVS here, again, their business need was around that omni-channel strategy, that true clicks to bricks approach for the purpose of making an operationally efficient customer experience. So again, customers would receive instructions through the post in the form of a letter and directed to a website where they could go and book their journey. And from there, they would be able to go into the branch and receive the services that they require. So I also want to demonstrate this through another example. So this is a different style of website actually. And again, I'm going to look at it from a web application more than anything else. So I'm going to go ahead and share the second screen I want to. And you'll see here that I've got something called My Visit. My Visit is Qflow's online portal, if you will, for customers, whereas we allow all of our customers to have their own websites. Sometimes people just want a very simple way of booking an appointment, so we do offer that capability as well. So I'm going to go ahead and use my local number. And what I should receive momentarily is a confirmation code to allow me to actually book in. So there we go, my code 5105. And the reason why we actually want to have this kind of booked in is so we can actually identify who the customer is. So I have a simple one here that I can book into. In this instance, it's a high commission, so I can go to the Nigerian High Commission and receive potentially an appointment from these guys. And I've got a bunch of services that I want to choose. So here again, I've got an e-passport application. There is a location, which is in London, so I'm going to go choose that. And it may ask me for some follow-up questions as well. For example, please enter the date of an interview that I've got. So I'm just going to go ahead and put an arbitrary date in here. And that will potentially go up and look up some information for us. Another question, please enter your surname. Oops. Okay. So all these questions that we're asking customers are all part of that workflow, which allows us to ensure that that quality of service is getting both sides are prepared for the appointment, if you will. Okay, once we've entered all of the information required for this appointment, you can see that we've got some available dates and we've got some available time slots. So if you remember from the Bupa website, again, we have this construct of the wizard approach, and the same thing applies to this particular application. So we can see that there are some time slots available in other days and not so many in some days. And this is how we really engage with the customers to tell them when they are and when they aren't able to book an appointment. So for us, there is quite a lot of availability on the Bupa website and not so much on the Nigerian High Commission. I'm sure it's due to being them rather busy at the moment. So we're just going to switch out of the Nigerian High Commission website now, and we are going to switch over to our presentation again. In fact, I'm going to stay where I am, and I am going to switch over to QFlow on my notes. We've had a look at a couple of online examples of how we might book an appointment. I want to switch into QFlow application for two reasons. First of all, I want to see how an appointment may be written, how it looks from an agent perspective, and I want to have a look at an example where we can book using QFlow and maybe book something a little bit more complex, which may have a number of components, and you'll see why once I go into this. So we're going to, first of all, sign into QFlow, and if you've not seen it before, this is what the latest version of the QFlow platform looks like. This is version 6, and you'll see I have an option here called Calendar, which I'm going to go straight into. Now, the Calendar option gives me a very nice view of somebody's calendar for the day. In this instance, it's a lady called Alexander Armstrong. And at the moment, she's got lots of availability. She's completely free for the day. You can also see that I've got a couple of rooms there as well. And these are going to come into play as we book an appointment. But first of all, I want to make an appointment in a similar way that the customers would have experienced online, and that's through a wizard. So I've got the capability here to use something called the Appointment Wizard, which will guide us through that approach. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to identify the customer, and I'm just going to put in an ID, which brings up this customer here, which is myself. From there, I get to find an appointment based on a variety of criteria. Now, in this instance, I know the location I'm operating in. So this is, it says Site 1, and I've got some calendars here, which I know I want to have a look into, but I don't want to select a particular calendar. I just want to leave that blank for the time being. The second thing is I want a generic service type, which will allow me to filter out what we call appointment types. Again, I'm just going to pick an arbitrary one, a 30-minute slot. Go ahead and find and see what availability we have. Now, what this is going to give us is, from an agent perspective, is slightly different to what a customer may experience. So an agent is experiencing a view of every single piece of availability, as opposed to when we saw the Bupa MVS example, where there was minimal availability. You just saw it from a pick a date and pick a slot. In this instance, we can actually choose potentially which agent we want to book into. So I can see here Alexander Armstrong. She has got a small pink diamond next to her name, which is indicating that she requires a resource in order to have the appointment, as opposed to somebody like Adam Ant who doesn't. So if we want to book an appointment for Adam Ant, if we just select the date, and we can see here he's got quite a lot of availability. I'm just going to go ahead and pick the 9:30 slot, click on Next, and hopefully we'll be able to put in some generic details here and go ahead and book the appointment. So that's now booked an appointment, and if we were to have a look at Adam's calendar, there we go, Adam Ant for Tuesday, February the 27th, we can see that the appointment is all booked in. Let's just do something a little bit more complex. So we're going to go to the Appointment Wizard again, and I'm going to choose the same customer. But this time, I'm going to find some availability. This time what I want to do is I want to book a resource at the same time. So we can see Alexander Armstrong here on the 27th has got lots of availability, but you'll see on the right hand side that there is a required resource. This means that whilst you can book into her calendar, you must also book one of the resources specified. And we can see here we've got room 1 and room 2. So we're going to go ahead and book room 2. And book some, put some generic information into the subject field. The customer already has an appointment on the same day in a different service. I'm absolutely okay with that for this demonstration purposes. So we'll go ahead and we'll confirm the appointment. So again, if we have a look at the calendar now, we can see that Alexander Armstrong, you can see I booked a bit of an example earlier today actually, but I've got the one that I've booked here. Now, if we have a look at that appointment itself, we'll be able to see that there are some resources required for this particular appointment, along with the details of the appointment, along with who the customer is. I'm just going to go back to the calendar because what I actually want to do is I also want to see these rooms. So I've clicked on this multiple button, which allows me to see not only Alexander's calendar, but also room 1's calendar and room 2's calendar. Now you'll see why I booked something a little bit earlier, because I wanted to show you that even though Alexander Armstrong is seeing multiple customers, the rooms are different calendars and they've got different things in them as well. So this is how we do something a little bit more complex when we're booking an appointment. But for a customer, they would not see this level of granularity. They're going to see something like you saw on the book for MVS, which actually did incorporate room booking and people calendar booking and a whole raft of other things as well. The customer's still going to see a very basic view, but the agents are able to see a lot more information. And particularly when you're having a look at the appointments as well. So if I, again, view this appointment detail, I'm seeing more information about the customer, about the required resources. If I want to, I can go have a look at the customer's record and see what previous interactions they've actually had. So I'm always prepared. I can see any information which was provided as part of the appointment booking, any instructions that were provided to the customer over on the right hand side, and also any communication that was given to the customer as well. So that's a bit of a demonstration on the actual booking of appointments. Again, I want to switch back into our presentation and just finish off on a couple of thoughts, and then we'll potentially take some questions. So if you bear with me while I switch over. So Lauren, can you just nod if you can see the final? Yeah, fantastic. I'm going to return to one more final piece in the puzzle, which is around operational efficiency. So we've seen how an appointment is much more than just scheduling a meeting, and when it's combined with the customer journey, it can become quite a powerful piece of that omni-channel digital strategy. So we've looked at how we can go through a wizard to determine when the appointment is going to be. We can talk about receiving appointment confirmation messages, going into the branch and having that journey. We can potentially fill out some online forms and other things as well. But if we have a look into the further detail of how that appointment is made, we can actually see where efficiency is lost. So on the left-hand side of the screen are the traditional systems using what we call slot-based calendars. So if you consider that each slot is half an hour in size, when you book a 45-minute appointment, you could end up with 15 minutes of unused dead space that can't be booked. Now, that might not seem a lot, but when you add that up over an entire day, over all of your employees in all of your branches, then that can lead to huge amounts of waste. So we've pioneered the use of something called segments, which is a concept quite unique to Qflow. Segments allow you to say, well, here's a chunk of time between, like we've got on screen, 9 a.m. and 2:30 p.m., and I want to apply some business rules to this segment. And those business rules can include how many concurrent appointments I can have at once, what appointment types to allow, how many of these segments should I have for the day, each with their own business rules, and do I allow for dynamic appointment times. Applying that to the example from the slot-based booking to the segment-based calendar on the right-hand side, we can see that we can remove that dead time and actually increase the calendar by, in my example, 30 minutes. So what we can say is that when we're using segments, we're using time as a variable. We can go and book those appointments online, and we can actually offer to customers the most efficient time dynamically so that you remain efficient in the branches. So now we've seen what our capabilities are, I want to return one last time to the challenge I posed earlier, that an appointment isn't just an appointment. An appointment shouldn't just be about scheduling. It should link into the efficient customer journey, the omni-channel digital strategy, and the entire sales to service process. So I've done about a bit of a half an hour presentation and demonstration. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen, and maybe it's invoked a few questions in your own heads. So I'd really like to put it out there and take some questions. I can see one Q&A has popped up on screen. So Lauren, do you want to marshal a few of these questions for me, and I'll see if I can answer what we can.
Yes, absolutely, Simon. I had one question come through earlier today from a gentleman who said, one of our customers said, I work in a local council. During certain periods, like when people are paying their rates, we have an increased number of people in our service centre. How could a system like this help us better manage the increase in visitors and reduce the pressure on our team?
It's a great question, and when you're looking at moving as well from just a simple what we call first in first out service, so that's your queue management side, to an appointment schedule based system, you're almost inherently going to have an immediate return on investment from an efficiency perspective. Don't forget, if you're going in FIFO, you don't know what your flows are going to be like. You may have some peaks at a certain time in a certain day, maybe a certain place within the month. When you put those into appointments, what you can do is actually balance the efficiency. You can start releasing what your availability is in advance and make sure that you have the right numbers of people in branch at the right time. Now, of course, if you've got quite a few resources to work with, you can do a bit of a blend. You can do appointment scheduling and first in, first out should capacity allow. And again, if you remember me talking about the business rules side of the segments earlier, that is quite a powerful way of putting in some time just for those first in, first out style customers. So you're serving both sides of the fence.
Thank you, Simon. I've got another question here that's come up through the Q&A box. It says, how can I convince my manager that we need a solution like this?
Yeah, it's a brilliant question, actually. It comes down to what the return on the investment is going to be. I mean, I've been working with some clients that have put in appointment scheduling, and they have seen that whole operational efficiency part that I was talking about earlier increase for them quite considerably as well. When we remove that dead time, it really does mean that you're making the most out of the agent time that is available. The other side of things, which is more applicable to retail than anything, is you can actually see a better return on the sales side because you're preparing the agents and you're preparing the customers. You're focusing really on what the customer actually wants, so they have a good engagement and they're likely to continue their engagement with that organization. So to convince management, you're really going down the line of asking NEXA, what is the ROI going to be for me in my circumstance when putting in something like an appointment scheduling system?
Thank you, Simon. I think your screen's frozen, but we can still hear you perfectly, which is great.
Brilliant.
You're back. I've got another question here from a customer or client saying, we are using QFlow for one-to-one appointments, but have recently introduced a new service which requires one-to-few or one-to-many. Can QFlow be configured for this type of service delivery along with one-to-one appointments?
Yeah, actually, I've come across the same thing with a client very recently, and I guess it's down to group bookings. So there's 2 or 3 scenarios that you can consider here. You've got a group of customers, and you want to see one agent for whatever reason. Yes, QFlow can cope with that quite well. The other one is, what happens if you want that same group to see more than one agent? And it's quite an interesting situation. How do you want to balance those agents? Do you want those agents both to be present at the same time for all of those 10 customers? Do you want to see those 10 customers sequentially? Do you want to offset the agents, so you see one agent first and a second agent second and a third agent third, and so on and so forth? We call that a composite appointment. This is where you can have multiple elements of that appointment put into quite a nice construct and booked in advance. It does come under that complex banner. But again, customers should not see that complexity, and Qflow handles that quite well. All you do is put in what your search criteria is, and it will return that availability given the business rules that we put into the system.
Thank you, Simon. Just 2 more questions if you've got the time. We've got a couple more.
Yeah, sure.
One that's come through on the chat. It says, how does the system manage customer communications and the reduction of no-shows?
Yeah, another great question. So Qflow's got a built-in capability for communication. It's called Connect, and that's the module that we use in order to facilitate all of the channels of communication. So that could be email, it could be SMS, but it could be other channels as well. Qflow allows us to integrate with any provider out there, your own mail system, an Office 365 mail system, whatever it is, to provide the emails. And again, with SMS messages, we've got quite a number of integrations with some of the more popular providers out there already. So we're able to marshal all of that resource through the application. And the cool thing is that you can see what messages get passed to the customer and also back from the customer. So we've got that two-way capability. That actually allows us to do quite a few other things as well, such as if we want to pump out a survey to the customer, we can do and receive their results in real time, specific to their case. And that is a huge, powerful piece of NPS or Net Promoter Survey capability when assessing whether a customer would refer you on to their friends and family. So yeah, Qflow Connect is the way that we do communication.
Thank you. And just lastly, what process do you normally follow with clients to educate customers that they're now required to book an appointment?
So there's actually 2 sides to this as well. Whenever you're doing any sort of change within a business, you want to make sure that all stakeholders are engaged. And in this instance, I think the stakeholders are the customers as well as the internal agents. So of course, there's going to need to be a transition period where agents are used to managing their own availability and making sure that they're aware of what an appointment actually means to the customer. Same as I posed the challenge earlier. For customers, it's slightly different. They should see fairly seamless transition, whether they're doing a first in, first out, I've just rocked up and I want to get seen, or I'm booking an appointment. But from a campaign perspective, you'll always want to tell your customer, look, it's better if you book an appointment because you always get a VIP experience. We know that you're coming, we're prepared for the visit, your time is saved and your time is important to us. That's what you're saying to your customer. So I think the engagement piece with customers is actually a positive one. And those sort of messages can be reinforced through your website and literature and all those sort of things.
Thanks, Simon. Thank you for sharing all those insights with us and helping us understand how appointment scheduling can help both staff and customers. That's all the questions we have for today. So thank you for your time. Thank you for everyone who's joined us on this webinar. There will be a recording sent out to you if you'd like to review some of the information Simon has shared with us. And we will have another webinar in this series coming up towards the end of next month. So look out for more information in that regard. Thank you again. Have a good day. Bye.